are bright and shiny in my mind. You got me loving, hating, crazy indecision in my mind.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast, where the focus is on deer hunting, tips, tricks, tactics, and stories from across the Midwest. And now, here is your host, Aaron Blicey.
Happy Monday, everybody. This is the Fall Podcast, and I am your host, Aaron Blicey, and this is episode number 62. And today I'm by myself. I don't have Justin by my side. He is out doing other things like bear hunting and, climbing the mountains or doing whatever he wants to do right now. But I'm by myself today. I got an awesome guest on the podcast, Cameran Derefield, and he is known for, honestly, last year shooting, a giant deer named Poppas Pride. So a lot of you might know him or, might be aware of this deer, and this story is pretty crazy. It's pretty cool. We talk about the chess match of what he went through to get this deer. It's a 3-year quest on this deer. So he's from Southern Ohio, and it's just a really cool story. But I'm going solo on this one, so I just kind of want to give an update here quickly on, my turkey hunt that just happened last week. I was able to get a turkey finally, and it was pretty cool. So, I've been pretty busy lately and doing a lot of stuff with Rival Wild and the Kiefer Brothers and stuff like that at work, and just haven't really been able to get out and hunt much. And I took my buddies out hunting the 2 Saturdays ago, and I took a gun, but I was going to call for them. They haven't done a lot of turkey hunting, and man, we had a day of all days. And eventually I'm going to get those guys on here, and we're going to talk about it. So it might be a little out of context. It might be in the next couple weeks, but it's just hard for all of us to get our schedules to line up and do it. But we're just going to get on there and, drink some beers while we're doing it and just cut up a little bit and talk about that day, because it was a really special day for all of us, I think, in the turkey woods. But fast forward to the Monday. So I actually hunted with Casey that morning, and didn't have any luck, and went to work and came home that night, and my wife and I had our daughter out in the backyard playing, and my neighbor, he owns I think it's 20 acres behind the house. He lets us deer hunt it and lets us turkey hunt it and everything. Well, on the backside of the timber there's an ag field, and it's a big ag field. In the last couple years, we've lived here for 5 years now, and you'll see a couple hens, and you might see a tom, or two. I think last year we had 2 toms show up later in May, or around about this time, mid-May, late May. So what happened is my neighbor, he mows a path through kind of like popples, like shorter trees and CRP. Like, he mows like a path that it's about 2 truck lengths, and it kind of winds back and it opens up into like about a half-acre plot. I'll call it a plot, but it's just mowed grass, and it looks like a yard actually, but it's back behind the house, probably 300 yards from my house, but we can see back there and see deer in there all the time. And it's got like autumn olives and trees around it. And then from that, it goes to about a 30-yard stretch of timber. So it's a funnel, and then it goes into the ag field. So Tuesday morning, I was going to go hunting with a couple of the guys from work. So I was out in the truck, and I was getting all my stuff around, and my wife and my daughter playing in the backyard, and my dog and everything. And we're sitting there, and I got my slate call out, and I was just putting some sandpaper on it, getting it ready for the morning. And I kind of did a couple yelps and purrs, and my wife walked up to me, and she's like, "Man, I think there's a turkey back there. I heard one." And I'm like, "No," because we haven't seen them. We've only seen 2 hens, and it was really sporadic. Like, haven't seen a lot of turkeys around. And I was like, I don't think you did. I haven't seen any birds around, because we usually do laps at night too around the section to see if there's any birds out, and we haven't seen any. She's like, "No, I'm pretty sure I saw a bird." And So I'm like, well, maybe you did, So we were going to take a walk back there. Our neighbor lets us go, walk the dog, and my daughter likes to walk back there. So she's like, let's go take a walk back there. And I'm like, okay, and I grabbed my slate call, and I'm like, I'm just going to take this and maybe do a couple yelps and see if there is a bird back there. We get halfway back there, and we stopped, and I'm like, I'm going to let out some yelps. I yelped twice, and this turkey gobbles, and I'm like, holy cow, he is back here. So he's in the ag field, which is, we're probably within 100 yards of him, but he can't see us. It's pretty thick in between us. So I told my wife, I'm like, I want to go get my stuff on and go after that bird. And she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think I can have him, in front of me within the next half hour. And so we got the dog and got the kid, and we're running back, kind of basically running back to the house so I can get him in the house. And it's like wrangling cats, I'll tell you. But the dog thinks you're playing, and then my daughter just wants to be outside playing in the sandbox, and it's getting close to her bedtime, and it's like 7:30, And so I go grab my camo, put it on, get my gun loaded up. And I'm like, I'm not going to take any decoys. This is like going for broke, just taking a slate call and a mouth call and going into it. So I start working back the mowed path, and I hit the call, and he gobbles. So I know where he's at. So I knew I could move up a little bit. So I move up about another 50 yards, and now I'm on that field, but it's not the perfect setup where I'm at. Like, I knew where I figured he was going to come out, and he was still going to be a ways away from me. So I wanted to get as close as I could, and I yelped again, nothing. And I waited like 2 minutes, yelped again, and then I did like a couple cuts on the slate and did some purrs and everything, and he gobbled. So I'm like, he hadn't moved, so I knew I could get a little bit closer. So I went about another 20 or 30 yards around the bend, and I got into a situation where I figured I could, if he comes to this field, he's going to be within 20 yards. I knew he would be. So I'm thinking he's by himself, and so I sit down there, and I see that I got this sapling in front of me, and it's almost acts as a shooting stick. So I put my barrel of my gun in there, and I'm using a slate, and I'm okay with a mouth call, but I really like using a slate call, and I feel like I'm a lot better at a slate call. So I just, work with the slate, and I knew if they were going to come to this field, I had to be able to react quick and everything. So I yelp a little bit, and then I had a hen yelp back at me. So I'm like, okay, he's got some hens with him, at least one that I knew of, and I'm like, this might be a little more tricky than I thought. And so I knew, obviously there was hens with him, but once she was going to yelp back to me, I was going to cut her off and try to get her angry. And she yelped, and right in the middle of that yelp, I just, and I just yelped right back at her, like saying, hey, I want him over here, and she got so upset at me. She would cut me off, I would cut her off, and then, same thing, she double cut, and it was like crazy, and this turkey's just gobbling, and I'm like, okay, they're not moving. I could tell they weren't moving, so I just shut up, and I wanted her to get curious and be like, where is this hen? I'm going to go look for her, and then Tom to come right behind her. And the curiosity got the best of me first. I waited what seemed like 5 minutes, but it was probably only about 2 minutes. And I'm like, I hadn't heard a gobble or a hen or nothing. And I'm like, I got to locate him again. So I yelped again, and he gobbled. And I could see just by the noise, they moved about 30 yards to the south, which I'm straight. Well, not straight. I would be southwest of them, probably 70 yards. So they're moving south down the wood line towards me. And then she yelped, and I cut her off again, and then she got really mad. And then I looked out through the trees, and I could see them walking. I could see a hen, and then I could see his fan come. And I'm like, they're going to come in here. And so at that moment, I knew they were pretty much committed because they were about 40 yards, but they were on the other side of the timber. So I'm like, I better get the slate out of my hand and get the gun in my hand. So I took my safety off and I put the gun on my shoulder, but I actually still had my striker. I put my slate on the ground. And right when I put the slate on the ground, I looked up and here comes two hens right into the field at 25, 30 yards, basically. And I'm like, well, now I got the striker in my hand. I can't move, and I see a redhead coming through the woods behind them. And they're walking right up to me, yelping, looking right at me, yelping at me. They come to 5 yards and they're just cackling at me and just trying to get me. Obviously they see a human, but they weren't, upset that I was there. They were upset that, there was a hen somewhere, but, you get it. So this redhead comes through and I can see it's a Jake. And I'm like, there's no way that was a Jake. He's only got like a 3-inch beard and he walks in. And then at that moment I heard boom and I hear him like spitting and drumming. And I'm like, okay, there's a bird coming behind him. I look back and here comes this Tom. And he is full strut coming through the timber. And I'm like, there he is, He walks right into the field. He's already within range, but I still got my striker in my hand. So I had my left hand on the gun, and the butt of the gun is in my shoulder, or in my, where you want to seat it. But I got to pick the gun up and just kind of take like a quick shot, but I got to drop my striker. And these hens at the same time are just cackling, and then they're feeding. 5 yards in front of me. So I can't even hardly breathe. The Jake's in the field. Tom comes in the field, and he will not come out of strut. And he works over, and my whole thought was I needed to get him as close as I could to me, so when I do go to grab for the gun, it's going to be an easier shot, because they're going to freak out right when I move. Well, the hens kind of started settling down, and they kind of started working off. And this time he's coming, and he's spitting, drumming. He didn't gobble when he was in the field, but he's spitting and drumming still. And he comes to like 11 yards, and I figured that was my time to make a move for it. And when I dropped the striker, picked up the gun, and the whole time like the hens started, putting and leaving, and he kind of picked his head up, and I just put the bead on him and shot him. And it was crazy. And that was basically the end of it. And it worked out great. And first bird behind the house, and it's just pretty rewarding to be able to do that. And that was the first time I really ever, got hens like really upset at me and brought a Tom. And so that was pretty cool too. So in a nutshell, or the whole story, long version, that was my turkey hunt, but pretty rewarding. We still got a couple, 2 weeks left? I think it's 2 weeks left. So I'm trying to get my wife a bird, and I got a couple buddies that haven't filled a tag yet. So hoping to get out there and get some more birds on the ground for sure, because they are still out in the field strutting, henned up still and gobbling, and I like it. It's fun. But yeah, enough of me rambling on by myself. But before we do get into this interview with Cameran, I do want to remind everybody about the America's Best Bowstrings Fall Podcast promo code. So go to the website and order your custom strings and type in Fall Podcast to get $10 off your orders, $99 and over. So with that being said, I'm going to kick this over to my interview with Cameran and let you guys enjoy. All right, on the phone with me today is Cameran Derefield. Cameran, how you doing, man?
Oh, pretty good, brother. Just sitting here enjoying watching all these rain clouds roll in and all these crops grow.
Yep. How's the rain down there by you?
It's more like how isn't the rain, because it's been raining nonstop.
Yeah, I got the same thing up here in Michigan, man.
Yeah, it seems like it's sunny Monday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday every week it's just pouring rain.
Why is that? I feel like the deer gods are just like raining down on us and be like, nope, not this year. You're not going to be able to get in there and hang your stands or do your food plots or spray them. What the heck is going on, man?
I don't know, man. It's I don't know. Hopefully, I'm just hoping that it's gonna pass soon, because it's because you give up your hopes all week, like I got this to do, and then here comes Friday and it's thunder and lightning, and you're like, damn it.
I agree. Yeah, today Sunday, it rained all day here today, and I mean, you just got to sit inside and just watch it rain. But the good thing is, I think they do say, I mean, on rainier summers, it helps with the antler development and growth a lot more. Have you heard of that?
I've never heard of that, but I'd say it's probably pretty true, because last spring we had a hell of a wet, last year period was just wet. I mean, there was crops, literally, they didn't cut crops here, like half these fields, until like February.
Really?
So, yeah, and honestly, I had last year the best year I've ever had as far as bigger deer go, So,
okay.
I mean, I could see that. I could totally see that.
Yeah. Well, before we get too far into this, I want everybody to know who I'm talking about. And I already said your name, Cameran Derefield, but can you fill in the blanks from there? I mean, let us know, where you're from, what you do, and what got you here today.
I'm from the great state of Ohio. I'm a tradesman, a outfitter, and just really enjoy chasing deer. I mean, it's more than just a hobby to me. It's probably, it's way deeper than that. It's just a way of life, basically. And I'm a father, a husband, and that about sums me up.
Well, I mean, you're pretty par for the course for all the guys guys and gals I have here on the podcast, and that's what I'm looking for. Just good, hardworking, blue collar guys that are just doing, awesome things in the whitetail woods, and you are right there with all the rest of them. And for a lot of people that listen to this, I don't know if anybody does follow Cameran on Instagram or anything, but Cameran did something last year with a buck that he's been chasing for years. And I don't know, man, it's a pretty crazy story. I don't know the whole story, and that's what we're going to get into today. But this deer is an absolute giant, and you hunted your ass off to get this deer, and I don't want to ruin it, but I say we kick it off, man, and let's go from ground zero. Let's introduce this deer, who he is, how he got his name, and literally like when you found out about this deer, how old he was, and what you thought of him.
Yeah, so the story started in 2015, and he was a 2.5-year-old 11 point, and he basically showed up in the middle of November in 2015 and hung around for, 2 months probably, and disappeared. And I didn't really give him a name or anything then. I mean, he's just,
a run-of-the-mill 2.5-year-old.
Yeah, it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so 2016 rolled around, and he didn't come back. And, I was busy chasing all these other deer, and I actually killed a 140 that year. And then in 2017, I think it was, in 2017, he showed up in August.
That was the first time you saw him again?
Yeah, since 2015. And the only reason I knew that it was the same deer is because he was basically the same exact rack, just way bigger.
And a year older. So he made a big jump from 2 to 3 then.
Well, it was actually so in 2015, that fall I had him. So 2016 I didn't. So he was a 4-year-old.
Okay. So he was not there as a 3-year-old or a 3-year-old then. You didn't see him one time.
Not one time, not one trail cam picture, not one sighting, nothing. And so the 4-year-old, he came back in 2017. And the moment I got the first picture of him, I was like, man, what a stud. He was probably 155 inches. So from 2.5 to 4, he put on probably 50 inches.
Holy cow.
And that year I was very torn because I had a buck that was 6.5 years old that I had 3 years of history with. I had his sheds, everything. And so those were the only 2 bucks I really had that was worth shooting. And so I was going into that season very torn on what to do. Well, the opening day of bow season, I saw the deer, the 6.5-year-old. His name was Zeus. And I saw him on opening day, and I passed him. and I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
You actually
And-
passed that deer? The
Yeah,
6-year-old?
I passed the one. Yeah, the 6.5-year-old, just because I was torn. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, granted, I don't shoot anything under a 5-year-old, but at the time, both deer were about the same size. They were both the biggest deer that I would have killed at that point in time. And I just wanted to see Papa in person. And where he got his name, his name is Papa, or Poppas Pride. Where he got his name was my wife's dad was a horse trainer, and they had a racehorse and his name was Poppas Pride.
Yep.
And I didn't really like the prize part, so I kind of put my own little twist to it.
Okay.
And so over the day of bow season, I passed the 6.5-year-old, and then the 10th day of bow season, they both walk in together at the same time.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
what do you do? I mean, are they both in range?
Oh, for sure. Matter of fact, Papa was actually closer than Zeus was, but I knew by that time, in that transition of 9-10 days, I knew what I was going to do. I fully committed to killing the older deer that I had sheds from and everything, and to let Papa grow.
Okay.
So they both walked in, and I grabbed my bow, and well, I trembled and grabbed my bow. I was shaking like a leaf on the tree. But I pulled back, and I actually put it on Papa, and I just counted to 3, and basically took a deep breath, like, oh man. And as soon as I saw Zeus kind of put his head down, I turned and shot him.
Holy cow. So
And,
you almost pulled the trigger on Papa there.
Well, I guess in my mind, that was my way of telling myself that I could have killed him,
Okay. So, yeah,
So-
I got you.
So it was kind of like just a mental thing. And so I shot Zeus, and I actually got to watch him actually fall and everything. So that was cool. Papa just kind of stood there and watched the whole thing happen.
That's crazy. Now, were they running mates like all summer? Did you have them
No,
throughout
so
the summer?
actually, I never got a picture of them together until like 4 days before I killed Zeus, and that was a trail cam video and pictures of them just fighting like maniacs.
Really?
And yeah, so they didn't really like each other. So that whole thing of them walking in together really threw me off.
Now, what
But,
were you thinking, though, when you saw them coming in together and they showed up and you're like, I mean, you've got 2 deer that anybody would die to kill these deer, or get a chance at one of these deer in a lifetime. You've got 2 of them in front of you. I mean, what's going through your head? I mean, I'm just trying to picture what I would be doing.
My first thought was, because I saw Papa first, didn't see Zeus yet, I thought, oh shit.
I got to make a decision.
Don't make a bad move. And then I saw Zeus walking behind him, and it was like, oh god, okay. And it was just, man, I hunt hard, man, and up to that point, I've never had 2 deer that size walking at the same time.
Yep.
And it was just, I don't know, man. It was the closest thing to having a heart attack I think I've ever had. But it was very. It opened my eyes to a whole lot of things. For one, it proved to myself that I could actually pass a good deer and let him make it to 5 years old. And because up to that point, I mean, I hunted mature deer, but if a 150 was standing in front of me, I was definitely killing him.
Right. Now tell me this, and be honest. So let's say Papa came in, but Zeus did not. Was it easier to pass Papa because Zeus was there, or if Papa came in and Zeus wasn't there, would you really have a pretty hard time passing that deer?
So I told myself that if Papa was to walk in by himself at any point in time, instead of reaching for my bow, I was going to reach and take my arrow off the actual string.
Okay.
So I wouldn't tempt myself. But if that would have been a year or 2 earlier, Papa would have died.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah. At that point in time, that's the first year. I was 26 at the time, and that's the first year that I felt comfortable doing something like that. Like,
I gotcha.
Before I would just think beforehand I would just think I was crazy.
Yeah. Now, you killed Zeus then, so you have the whole rest of the season, and you can kill 2 bucks in Ohio, correct? As a resident.
No, actually, you can only kill one.
Oh, you only can kill one. Okay, I thought you could kill 2.
Yeah.
So then you're tagged out then.
That's pretty stressful.
So you're tagged out, so you don't have to worry about Papa then going out there and hopefully him coming in and like passing him up again. You just got to worry about hopefully the neighbors don't get him then.
Yes, which happened.
Okay.
2 weeks after I passed Papa, the neighbor made a really bad shot on him with a bow, and he disappeared off camera for about a month and a half. I thought he was dead.
Now, when did you find out about the neighbor? Did he tell you, or did you kind of hear through the grapevine?
No, he told me. I used to. I actually quit drinking early, but I used to go to the bar every single Wednesday night, and it's this little local, bar, and he told me in there, he's like, "Hey man, I shot this really big deer," and he started explaining this deer to me, and I know where he hunts, and I was just like, "Oh no, he shot my deer."
Oh boy.
And then like instantly, like the night that happened, I just literally just paid my bill and left. I was all tore up about it, and for a month and a half, I pretty much that's all I thought about was like, man, that maybe you should have shot it.
Yep.
And then one day, it was November, and it was in the middle of the rut. Boom, there he was, and he was on 4 of my cameras in one night.
Wow. Now where'd the neighbor hit him at?
So he hit him super, super high, like honestly, where the wound was, I'm surprised he didn't spine him, but somehow he didn't, and he basically made it. So I think for that month and a half, he just kind of either disappeared to go heal, or he just was like, "I'm getting the hell out of here."
Laid low for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and so that picked me up a whole lot. I started, you can look at that in 2 different ways. Like, oh no, he's killable, or he just got smart as hell.
Right, he just got educated or something.
Yeah, he basically watched another deer die because of me, and then he got shot all within a month.
Yep.
So I followed him until shed season, and was looking for his sheds nonstop. Well, found out that another neighbor about half a mile up the road actually found his match set.
Oh wow.
So added more stress to me, like, damn, there's more guys that have, the possibility of shooting.
So you're finding out this deer has got a big range. Like, he's going away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like he's traveling. And which is not common for deer around here, but he was. And it's not common for big deer, I'll say that.
Yep.
But so I went and knocked on the guy's door, and I said, "Hey man," I was like, "I have a lot of history with that deer. Do you have any history with him?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a couple of pictures of him." And I was like, "How much for those sheds?" And he was like, "I'll tell you what, $500."
Oh my god.
Or yeah, like just being a dick.
Yep.
Or he said, "If you shoot him, I'll give you the shed." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
So did you take the $500, or did you just like, I'm just gonna shoot him, then I'll get him later?
I didn't give him the $500 because at the time it was kind of like, okay, I know where they're at, and it'd be much more, filling for me to just bring him the actual deer and be like, okay.
Right.
So, because at that point, after I shot my buck in 2016, I shot Zeus, I was starting to get a little name for myself around here, and as well as anybody does, once you start doing that, there's a lot of hate that starts to come your way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so at that point in time, it was kind of like, okay, well, if y'all want to be jackasses, that's fine. I can be a jackass too.
Yep, exactly.
And so basically, I let it go, and I got the first picture of him again in April. And
had he shed then?
Oh yeah, he already shed. The neighbor found the sheds and everything, and then I didn't have him on camera from probably January. I'd say probably the beginning of February until April. And when he showed up in April, he actually had his bases grown out and his brow tines.
Really, in April?
And yeah, in April, and I was like, oh man, this year's gonna blow up.
Now, how did his wound look now?
So he had a giant scab on his side. He got a scar across his snout, which wasn't there before. But I could tell by all his patches and everything, it was definitely him.
Yep. Okay.
And so from there, man, it just became an everyday obsession. I ran 20 trail cameras just for him. I was late to work many days because I would wake up and I'd be dressed and I'd walk out my door and I'd look out in the field and he'd be out there, eating, and I would grab the video camera and film him. And I got I think over 100 hours of video throughout the whole summer.
Holy cow.
Of just, velvet footage of him. This is no lie. I literally have 400 to 4,500 pictures, trail cam pictures of him in just that spring and summer.
Man, so you're getting all these assets of this deer, and the obsession's growing. I totally understand what you're going through, and I know every hunter listening to this, understands as well. So what do you think in your game plan is going through the summer? Do you know where he lives yet?
Yeah, so I'm very nerdy when it comes to deer, and I'm very nerdy when it comes to my trail cameras and everything like that. Like basically what I do is I once I get a deer on camera, first thing I do is look at the wind direction, look at the date, I look at the weather, and I keep track of that with every single picture. And what I do with that is I adjust my cameras to where he's coming from, and I find out where he's bedding. I find out when he's using the bedding, how, and pretty much everything about him. And that's what I did with him. He had 4 or 5 different bedding areas, and I basically could, you could text me at any point in time of the day, and I could damn near tell you exactly where he was.
That's crazy, man.
But it was, like I said, it was nonstop, stressful, adjusting cams weekly, trying not to blow him out of there, and just, but I was on edge. Everybody knew about him. Yep. At that time, there was only 3 people hunting him or going to hunt him. And it was just he woke something up inside me that no other deer ever has, in the sense of there was no question on what my goal was, or what I wanted my season to be, and I was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, I get it, man. Now, you're coming into the summer. Are you just trying to figure out where he is with the cameras, like you said, or are you creating food plots and doing other things and manipulating things to try to get him in a different area, or try to neck him down or shorten his range? What's your thoughts there?
So I live in farmland. So all the farms that I hunt are probably 70 to 80% field, and the rest of it's woods.
Okay.
But everybody here baits. Everybody. So I have to bait, or else I don't have deer, basically. Right. So what I do to be a little bit different than everybody else is I'll have 2 main bait piles for each farm every single year. And from those bait piles, what I'll do is when I backtrack these deer and find their bedding, I will start feeding them at their bedding almost. So in doing so, I make them comfortable where they don't have to move a whole crazy lot, and they stay focused on one single area. I give them everything that they possibly need. And what I do, and my strategy with that is, all spring and summer, I access from the same exact point, and basically get him used to bedding to that danger. He beds according to the way I access all spring and summer. So once he gets adjusted to that, and I know he's adjusted to that, come season, I access from a 100% different way, and I come in there and I set up between feeding and bedding, and that's how I hunt.
Okay.
So basically, I use his nose against him in the best possible way that I can think of. You know? And so he, you know, it's one of those things that works almost every time, but I can't say almost every time. I'd say it's about a 80%, you know, that it actually works. So, and that's something that I've developed over the past 4 or 5 years. That's, you know, because like I said, everybody baits. It's to the point now, you know, big deer don't even come into corn. And if they do come into a corn, you know, to a corn feed, I don't use feeders because they definitely will not come into a feeder. A big deer won't, not in my area. So basically when a big deer does come into a corn pile, and this is no bullshit, he's looking up. He's expecting something to happen.
Right. Yep.
You know, and so I've had to adjust to that. I've had to find my own little style, my own little groove in doing things. So puts me ahead of everybody else, basically.
Just trying to give yourself an upper hand.
Yeah, you know, and it's just I don't like, you know, people are like, oh, well, you bait deer, and I hate that whole stigma that it has. But it's like, look, guys, I have to. To me, in the way that I do it is totally crazy and totally different than anybody else. So it's, you know, and it's, to me, putting out a little corn pile is no different than planting a freaking 2-acre plot. You know.
Yep.
It's just what I have to do. If I planted a 2-acre plot here, it wouldn't do anything because they have miles and miles of soybeans and corn.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something that I had to develop and learn. You know, I used to be that guy when I was 20 years old that would just have one single corn pile, and I'd be hunting that corn pile until I seen a decent buck. And I never killed a big deer like that, honestly. So right. I just I had to adjust to that.
Yep. I mean, you're sounding a lot like, you know, kind of how I grew up. You know, we here in Michigan, we can't bait now. Up in the Upper Peninsula, we can still, but Lower Peninsula, you cannot bait anymore. You know, and I grew up with a family that baited. You know, and you had a bait pile, and that's how you hunted. And I felt like I lost a lot of woodsmanship and just left behind a lot of different stuff that I could be learning. And I'm trying to relearn all that stuff now, you know, and I'm making strides every year, and I'm always trying to hone the craft, you know, and just try to do the best I can do. I don't compare myself to anybody else, you know. It's not, for me, it's not a competitive thing. It's like a challenge within myself in trying to get to get the deer that I want on his turf. Because I always say, man, when you go on hunting, you're never playing a home game. You're at an away game every time. You know, this is their turf. You have to beat them on their level, and that's what just drives me. And like, it's a sickness almost. Like, I just love it.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, it's me and you talk, and I refer to deer hunting. Well, I refer to, you know, hunting big deer just like chess. It is a game of chess. And in the game of chess, you have to be, you know, you have to watch your moves. You have to plan ahead. You have to know that your opponent is trying to do the same thing you are. And in deer hunting, it's kind of like that, but it's like this. You know, you're out there to kill him. He's out there to survive.
Exactly.
And you're in his, you know, zone. You're messing with one of the smartest animals to walk the face of Earth, and that's no joke.
100%, man. I agree.
And so, you know, it's you have to put fillers out there. You know, you have to fill them out because whether you know it or not, he's definitely filling you out, and he's doing it just off pure survival. You know. And it's something that he has to do. You're out there doing something that you want to do. So you have to kind of find that happy median, and you have to start thinking like a big deer. You have to. You can't be a deer hunter and a big deer hunter. Those are two different types of people.
Yep. I agree. So now
So,
getting into now you have him in April, and he's got bases and brow tines already, right?
yeah.
So he's a 5-year-old that year then?
Yep. He's
So-
5 years old. He's, in my eyes, he's prime.
Okay.
He's mine.
So he's 5
And,
years old. Is that the 2017 season?
No, 2018. So rolling into the season that just passed.
Okay, now pick up from there. Now, where are we at coming through the summer then right into the fall? Like, what's he looking like? What's he doing? Are your sightings going down at all?
So, no. So all summer, I mean, like I said, I got, over 100 hours of footage of him, insane amount of trail cam pictures. I mean, I have this dude down. And he just started to blow up, man. I mean, May, June, July, August. As the calendar days started to peel, he started to grow, man. And he just was he just started putting on inches and inches and inches, man. And he basically went from a 9-point. Well, I'm sorry, he was a 10-point because he had a kicker. He went from a 10-point to, when I killed him, he had 23 scoreable points.
Holy cow! In the same year.
Yeah, so from 4 to 5, he put on 45 to 50 inches and pretty much doubled his points.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, more than doubled his points, really. But he, man, he turned into something. He's got 11 scoreable points before you even get to his actual brow tine.
Holy cow! So he's just got a lot of trash on his bases and around the.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got tons. He's just he has everything. So I'm really obsessed with 10-point frames.
Okay.
I've got 5 of them. I've got 5 of them mounted, and he has he's a main frame 10 with split twos, split brows, and a whole bunch of jump.
Wow, he's a stud. He's a shooter for sure.
Oh, for sure, man. And here's the thing about him. He had a good sized body on him, but he has a little bit smaller head than most deer his age. So as the summer was going on, I'm thinking to myself, man, he's 200 inches, he's 205 inches, he's 210 inches. Like, I just thought that this deer was just, well, first off, I mean, he is a big deer, but like, he was just turning into something that was like basically what I grew up looking at in magazines and seeing at like expos and stuff like that.
Once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah, and going into the season was, like I said, the best season that I've had so far. I had multiple deer over. I had 2 in the 160s. I had a 170. I had Papa, he scored 190 inches, and it just I knew that the year before was pretty trying on me, but I was going into the most trying season of my entire life.
Right.
And but my goal was set, and I was stern on that. It was Papa or nothing. So, I mean, rolling into the season, I was very amped up. I thought I had him patterned. I thought he was dead on opening day. But he shed his velvet late, probably a week before season. So it was the 3rd week of September, about 2.5 weeks in, he shed his velvet, and literally had him on camera every day until the day before bow season, and he was gone.
That's how it happens,
he was
man.
Gone. Yeah, once that velvet came off, he turned into a different animal. And from that point on, man, that was September 27th, the day before season, the 26th. And I didn't get another trail cam picture of him until the 5th
of October. Okay.
And my mind was just spinning for those days, man. Like somebody shot him on opening day. Like, oh my God, all this build up to that.
Or poached him.
All this build up, and I get a freaking first round knockout. Like, oh God.
Yep.
And it's just like, so October 5th rolls around, and I get a picture of him. And again, like I said, I study his trail cam pictures. I know what wind he likes coming in what areas, weather, all this stuff. And so, I had him on camera on the 5th. And so I used that to my advantage. I was hunting that evening, but not in the right spot, I was in the right spot because the way he came into that spot, he was definitely windy. So I can't say I was in the wrong spot, but basically it was just a chess match, man. I got him on camera, I think 5 times total from the first day of bow season to November 28th whenever I killed him. I saw him twice. The second day of bow season. Oh yeah, so let's take it back. Second day of bow season, I seen him through the timber at 100 yards, just slow poking it and heading in the opposite way of me. And I thought, at no point in that hunt I thought it was going to happen because I saw what he was doing, but there was no truck cam picture of him until the 5th. So, and then I had another, and then, it was just everyday grinding, man. I hunted 60 days straight. I knew the area he was in. I knew he wasn't far, but the area that he was in was this little strip of timber in the middle of standing corn, and there was no way in hell I was getting to him.
So you said you hunted him 60 days straight. I mean, did you just take a lot of days off of work, or how were you able to hunt him 60 days straight?
So the first part of it, I was working, and then I kind of had I was in the middle of switching jobs. So I was like, you know what? I'm not getting a new job until I basically kill Papa. And,
I love that you put him above your job.
Everybody asks me, like, how did you do that? Well, deer hunting is my life, man. I don't drive big expensive trucks. I don't spend money. Everybody picks on me because I don't spend any money, and it's just like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So
I was just able to do that. A lot of my buddies are, they have college debt and they drive a truck that costs them $700 a month and like just crazy stuff. And I don't do that. I mean, I drive a nice truck and I have a nice house and all this stuff. Like, I live very well, but it's like I don't live out of my means.
Yep.
And so that's how I was able to do that, basically. So, but I hunted him safe. I wasn't over hunting him by any means. I was mobile, I'd say 90% of the time. Stand, sticks. I videoed everything. So, it's just I played it smart. I knew where he was. I hunted the edges. I played his game, basically.
Yep.
Everybody's like, well, why didn't you get aggressive and going after him? If I knew where he was, I would have went in there. And I'm like, well, if you knew the situation and you know what all was going into this, you would have blew your shot if you'd have went in there.
Yeah, because if you blow it once, man, you're done. You could be done for good.
It's one thing to be playing it safe and somebody else shoots him, but if somebody shoots him because of your mistake, that's a little bit harder to deal with.
Yeah. Yep.
So basically, man, I was just playing it smart, and I seen him again on, I want to say, November 7th.
So okay, let's go back real quick. Let's timeline here. So October, or like early October, you saw him once in the stand, right? 100 yards walking away. Then you got a picture of him on the 5th. And then when was your next picture of him?
So my next picture was the 19th
of October. Okay.
And
was this daylight or night shots, night pictures?
Daylight. So that's what's crazy. Every picture I got of him during deer season was a daylight picture.
Wow. Was he more morning or midday or afternoon?
There was no pattern.
No pattern on him. Okay.
He's just the most nomadic deer I've ever hunted in my entire life.
Yep.
But so that was daylight, and he was leaving a known bedding area where I thought he was, but the wind was completely wrong for me to be in there. So he basically, he won that day because of the weather. So that was the 19th. Now, I want to say the next picture I got of him was it was in October, late October, I think.
And you haven't seen him on the hoof since early October then, right?
Yeah, so I haven't seen him in person but that one time.
Okay. Yep.
And But I'm grinding, man. I know he's there. I know that nobody's shot him, because if somebody shot him, the word would have got out.
Right. Yep.
But at this point in time, so we're rolling into November now. At this point in time, I know that there's 6 dudes that have trail cam pictures of him. I know that the farmer is threatening to shoot him off his combine.
Oh, I hate that.
I know that gun season is in the month of November, and the farmer and the other guy that hunts this place plan on driving this place. So
pressure's getting to you.
Oh man, I'm literally losing my mind.
Yep.
And at that time, man, like I said, I had some other big deer on camera, and through the month of November, I contemplated it. Like, you know what? I could go shoot this other deer named, his name was Rocky, and he was 165-inch 10-point, and just a stud of a deer. But he was only 4. And, so that kind of fell into my little golden rule not to shoot anything under 5. But I was so fed up and hunting so hard and putting so much effort into it. I'm like, I'm not going this season and not killing a deer.
Right. It's crazy how when you get into that, because you go into the season, you're so amped up, and you're like, it's Papa or nothing, or anything else. You know what I mean? Every hunter goes through it. And then it's like you get into it, and it's just a grind, and you're like, and then something takes over you, and you're like, man, I just need to get a deer on the ground. Like, you're just working so hard that you just need to fill that tag or to take that opportunity, because it's just what feeds you. I get it, man. But it's crazy how that can overtake you.
Yeah, and luckily it didn't, because rolling into November, I had my opportunity at Rocky at 15 yards broadside.
Oh, another test.
And I passed him. I didn't even touch my bow, to be honest with you. And I could have killed him. I mean, he was dead to rights. Matter of fact, he was throwing salt in every wound that I had, because he was just giving me every opportunity and taking his time, and had no idea I was there. But I passed him.
And that was early November?
Yeah. And then November 5th, I got another trail cam picture of Papa in daylight, in a spot where I thought he was going to be, but the wind was wrong again. And so I wasn't there. That's actually the same day I passed Rocky, on November 5th. So it is what it is. And then November 12th or 13th, I passed a 170-inch deer that I'd never seen before.
Oh my gosh, dude! How can you do that? You got some will, man. I knew that no matter how frustrated I was, all the build up to Papa, all the late nights, all the work, all the conversations, and strategizing with all my buddies, and driving my wife batty all spring and summer, and it was more to me than just killing a deer at that point. Right.
It was proving to myself why I do this. It was proven to everybody else that follows me and my story and knows my passion for whitetails. It was proving them why I do this. I don't just hunt to hunt.
Yep.
And so I passed that deer, which ended up getting shot in gun season.
When does gun season come in Ohio? What day was it?
So it comes in the last week of November.
Okay.
So I killed Papa on the 28th this year, so it came in on the 26th, I think.
Okay. So right now, where are you at with this 170-inch deer that you passed up? What day was that?
I want to say 12th or 13th, I think it was.
Okay.
It was right in that area.
Yep.
And, it was just kind of like, it was one of those deals where when he came in, I'd never seen before, and I mean, this deer had mass. This deer was just an old deer. I mean, had it all. And it's kind of like, I don't know, man. It's I can't explain to you what it was, but it was a weird feeling for me, man, because it was like a sense of calmness at the same time.
Yep.
It was like it was like, okay, you've made it this far. Poppa's still breathing. Just hang in there, man.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
And then, it was. Don't get me wrong, man. I thought about it hardcore. Like, I could shoot this deer, and it's the biggest deer in my life. It's still a hell of a year.
Yep.
And but that deer didn't really stick around too long. He was there and he was gone, which helped a lot. And so rolling into gun week, I don't really gun hunt a whole lot, man. And but I threw a scope on the old shotgun because I knew everybody was after him. I knew that the farmers was going to drive it. I knew the neighbors was on him, and I knew everybody was going to. Driving deer here is a big thing, and I hate it. I don't know why everybody does it, but I mean, it's not. I don't hate on people who do it. If that's what you do, then that's what you do, man. I mean, at least you're out there enjoying it. But
right.
For me and my deer, for the deer that I'm chasing at the current time or at any given time, I hate it.
Yeah.
So I was going into gun week, in a very odd place. I was getting a gun ready. Normally I'm tagged out by then. But, so opening day of gun season came, and it was like 20-mile-an-hour winds, snowing. I mean, horrible. So luckily, most people didn't get out. I probably heard 3 shots all day, and it was real far away.
Okay.
And I sat in it all day.
What'd you end up seeing all day?
A bunch of small bucks and does. So it wasn't too bad because at least I was seeing deer.
Yep.
And so Tuesday wasn't a whole lot better. It just wasn't snowing. It was still freezing cold, super high winds. But there's a snow on. So I mean, it's kind of cool, And like I said, there's a lot of standing crops still. And that's where Papa was. I knew that's where he was. Yeah, he was venturing out at nighttime getting on other people's cameras, but I knew where he was,
So where were you sitting? Were you sitting transition, or what was your plan of attack for where you're sitting?
I was sitting in the biggest funnel on this property, which just so happens to be coming out of the standing corn where he was staying.
Okay.
So Tuesday, like I said, it wasn't snowing, but it was just as cold, just as windy. And just saw a couple does on Tuesday. Heard probably 4 or 5 gunshots. One was kind of close, but you know how that goes. I was, my mind was racing. Like,
heart sank. Shit, who shot that? Trying to figure out who it was. Like, texting buddies. Do you know this guy?
And nothing. So Wednesday morning, my wife had asked me to watch our daughter. I'm like, you know what? Okay, cool. I was like, all right, I kind of need a break.
Yep.
As bad as that sounds. And so I was watching my daughter. She got home about noon, and I suited up. I said, I'm going out. And so I went out, sat in that funnel again, which is something I don't really do. I don't hunt the same spot over and over again, but it was gun season, and I knew that was my best spot.
Are you sitting right on the ground, or are you in a tree stand, or what's your situation?
So so I'm right on the ground.
Okay.
I figured if I had a gun, I don't need to be in a tree. So,
yep.
That was my way of kind of even up the odds, And so Wednesday rolled around. Like I said, I suited up about noon and headed out. And at this point in time of season, man, I'm stressed. I'm down and out. It's starting to really weigh on me. And so my wife, I told her, I was like, I'm going to go hunt the spot. I was like, I'm probably not killing Papa this year. So, it is what it is. And, I packed a bunch of candy bars and everything, man. Yep. And I was just like, I'm just going to go out here. Well, I didn't see a single deer all evening until about 20 minutes before dark. I'd say probably 30 minutes before dark. And I see this big body coming out of the standing corn. And it stops on the very edge of it, and I see him turn his head, and it looked like a whole bush moved. And instantly I'm like, it's Papa. And I'm self-filming, So I have my camera arm attached to the tree. I'm sitting at the base of this tree. I have my camera arm on the tree. I reach over, I grab my camera, I turn it on, I spin it around. And he takes the, you know how these bigger deer, they kind of have like that little like sweeping first step as they take off.
Yep.
Well, he did that. As soon as he did that, I knew 110% that it was Poppas. So he started walking down this creek bank, and I'm making sure he's in frame and all this stuff. And finally he gets right on the freaking creek bank, right on the edge of it, and I look down at the camera. He's in frame, and I pull the trigger, and he drops. But I hit him a little high because as I was shooting, he was stepping down that bank, and he dropped right there and started kicking and everything. Well, for some reason, the scope mount that I put on this gun the week before, when I did it, the screws or something were too long or whatever. But when I racked the shell, it didn't rack a shell. Nothing happened.
Okay. That's
so
weird.
He's down there kicking or whatever, and he jumps up. Well, that's what you get for buying the scope mount off Amazon, because you need it super fast.
Yep.
But then he jumps up and he runs about 10-15 feet up onto the bank, and he's standing there and he's literally looking at me. I don't know how. He probably hears me messing with the damn gun or whatever. But I just hit him with a freaking slug, and he's standing there looking at me. So, I'm trying to work this gun. So finally, I reach in my pocket, grab a shell, put it in the actual barrel, slide it shut, pull up, boom, shoot him again. He runs straight into the corn, and I basically lose my shit right there. And start crying. I call my wife, and I literally sound like a 13-year-old girl at a freaking beaver concert. And it was just, everything leading up to that, man. Like I said, the late nights, I was 10 years old when I shot my first deer, and that was basically 17, 18 years of just grinding.
Yep.
And every emotion I've ever had was wrapped up in that moment right there. And so I pack everything up after I call my wife. I pack everything up, and I walk to the house. It's almost like I'm so used to bow hunting. I'm like, I'm just going to give him time.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I walk back to the house, man. We're just talking, and while I'm hysterically crying, but she's talking, and I wait on my friend, on one of my best friends to get here, my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, and they all show up, and my brother-in-law, I give him the camera. I say, I want you to film everything, and me find, if we find him, all this stuff. So we head down to the creek bank, and there's hardly any blood, and I'm like, man, what the hell? And I was like, I know I hit him twice. And I walk over to the edge of the standing corn, and there's 3 or 4 corn stalks broke off, covered in blood. And I'm like, okay. So I started following that path, and he was probably 30 yards inside the corn, and I saw his hoofs first. And I turned around, and I'm like, it's Poppas Pride. And I say it's Poppas effing Pride, freak out, man. I run up to him, and it's just a magical moment, man. I mean,
that's crazy.
It's something that I've lived for my entire life. Is that moment? It's not. To me, it's not just killing deer, man. It's accomplishing something that you set out, and a goal that you make months in advance, and pushing yourself to limits that you've never done before, all to just succeed.
100%.
And that's what it was to me, man. It was a dream that I thought was always going to be a dream, and I literally watched it all come true in the course of two or 3 years. And I still, like right now, I'm sitting here talking to you, looking at him. It every once in a while it just hits me, and I still get choked up about it. And but I'm back in it. I'm right back at square one. The deer I passed last year, Rocky, is a 4-year-old. It's me and him this year.
Yep.
So I'm back in the game. I'm back to the whole process of it all is what I really love. That's my passion.
I agree. You couldn't have said it better. That's the process is almost, if not better than the hunting. I just love the preparation and trying to set yourself up for the best success that you can have.
Yeah, man. It's I don't really have the passion to hunt anything else. Like we just got done with turkey season here and everything. Like I killed a turkey this year, but I literally bought my license tag the night before and went out the very next day and shot the turkey.
Yep.
So it's just like whitetails to me is just it's like there's to me hunting anything else. There's just no romance. And what I mean by that is you can't pick a turkey out and fall in for 2 or 3 years until he's prime and shooting.
Right.
You can't, if you're an elk hunter, you go out west, 9 times out of 10, those dudes are shooting the first mature bull that's in front of them.
Right. Yeah.
They're not out there they're not out there chasing one single bull. It's just that's the whole romance of it all, man. It's just you basically fall in love, and in order to be good at killing mature whitetails, you have to love the process. You have to, and that's what it is, man. It's an undying just love, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, the process is where it's at, and when you brought up I haven't really looked at it that before. When you brought up, the guys that are hunting the elk. And they're just out there. I mean, a lot of guys are going out there for the first time and just shooting the first legal bull, and then, guys that do it year after year. I'm sure there's a handful probably out there that, live out west that are probably picking out bulls, but probably not a lot of guys, like you said, and turkey season, same thing for me. I enjoy turkey hunting. I've turkey hunted my whole life, as long as I could turkey hunt, and I've killed a bird just about every year that I've been able to turkey hunt. And, I love getting a gobbler in really close, but I'm not going to lie to you. You give me 4 or 5 days straight of turkey hunting, I'm like kind of sick of it. You know what I mean? Like it's getting up at 3:00 in the morning, getting them out of the roost and all that stuff. And it's like long days. And then it's daylight longer in the afternoon, and, you just get tired, and it's like, it's just, it's fun when you're in it, and then it just kind of drags on a little bit, gets old. But I agree, man. There's something about whitetail.
If you tell a diehard turkey hunter that there's no romance in turkey hunting, they get offended, and they say, "What do you mean? You call it a bird?" And what I mean by that is, you can't really, just like I said, you can't pick out that single bird, and it's not just, To me, when you're turkey hunting, you're out there hunting turkey, not a turkey.
Yep.
And there's no build up to that. There's a build up from, deer season to turkey season. Oh, I can't wait for turkey season. But there's no hardcore driving force behind it. Not for me anyways. It's just, I always say the word romance because I can't think of anything other than that.
Yep.
It's just that's what it is, man. You got it when you basically gotta you gotta. It's like falling in love, basically every single season with whitetail. You got and a lot of people don't hunt specific deer. They just have 4 or 5 deer that they're going after, 2 or 3 deer. I notice when I have that, and I used to do that when I was going into the season with 2 or 3 deer that I could kill. I didn't try as hard. I was a little bit lazy. The build up just wasn't there like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And because you think, oh well, if I blow this one out, I still got this one. Well, to me, that one is what I'm after. That's the chess match. It's me against him. I find out all his flaws. I find out everything he likes, and I just pick him apart.
Yep.
And that to me is unmatched.
Yeah, I call it getting intimate with the deer. and that's a lot of people give me crap about naming deer. And I name them for one. I name them because it's easier to identify them. You know, when you're talking to your buddies or something like that, you show them a picture. It's like, oh, this is so and so, and you know, instead of saying this is, you know, the tall browed 8. You know what I mean? So that's why I do that as well. But I feel like if I name them, that's a deer I'm going after, and that's a deer that I've had history with and, you know, a story with. And I love stories. I love, you and I talked about before we started recording. That's, you know, and that's all part of the process. Hanging in the stands, you know, trail cams, you know, scouting the deer in the beans in the summer and getting footage of these deer. Like, that's, you're building your story and your process, and you're getting intimate with that deer. You know, it's almost like you know that deer, you know, and it's just awesome. And like I said, I get ate up in it just like you do, man. And it's the best thing ever, and I love it.
Yeah, it's you know, a lot of people don't get that, but that's okay, man. You know, that's, if you don't get it, then it's not a bad thing. But I mean, there's no need for me to explain it to you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because if you were the type of dude to understand what I'm talking about, then you're ate up with.
Yep.
And
for sure.
And you know, everybody has their own. You know, I look at it like this. That's why there's all these different car makers, because nobody likes the same car. You know, nobody's got the same style. Everybody's got their own style. Everybody's got their own thing that drives them. Some people just like to go out and hunt because they enjoy the, you know, being out there. Some people go out and hunt because they want to put, they want to fill a, you know, freezer full. I go out and hunt to prove to myself that I can outsmart a deer. I prove to myself that I can set goals and crush them. I prove to myself that, you know, it's taught me that, you know, it's taught me how to have, you know, perseverance, and taught me how to focus, and taught me all this stuff throughout my entire life. And it's a deeper thing than just deer hunting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I want to transition real quick here before we get off here. And, you know, before you and I were talking, and you were saying that you're an outfitter now. You have an outfit. So I want to get into this a little bit before we wrap it up. Now, give me the down and dirty on your outfitter. What do you got?
Okay, so it's in the great state of Kentucky, and we lease right about 20,000 acres right now. And it's me and my buddy, and we basically, we're not in it for the money, man. We're in it to grow deer. We're in it to it's basically a giant, like, you know, some people play video games, some people, you know, play chess, or some people play, you know, softball. To us, this is just a giant playground for us.
Yep.
We get to go out and plant food plots wherever. We get to basically grow deer, and that's what we love. We're not going to overhunt anything. If you come hunt with us, you'll say you hunt with us for 5 days, you will never hunt the same farm twice. Basically, we're just trying to change the whole mindset of, you know, going on guided hunts, or, you know, paying to actually shoot a deer. And it's something that it's been a dream of mine my entire life, to actually work and do what I love for a living. So, like I said, man, we're just out here trying to grow giant deer and change people's mind about a whole lot of stuff. And if there's anything else I'm passionate about when it comes to deer hunting, it's putting other people on deer. After I shot Pappas this year, I tried to put three or four of my buddies on deer, and it's just something that I really, really like. And then we, you know, all this kind of transpired, and this is our first year of actually, you know, making it a business. And, you know, I grew up hunting down there. I shot my first deer ever at 10 years old down there. My family farms down there. So, and it's a lot different. It's a lot different hunting than what I'm used to. It's all hill country down there. And every day that I hunt here, it's all farmland. So it's a fun little mix up. And I mean, we're just having fun with it, man. I mean, we're about to drop our Instagram page and Facebook page. Everything's rolling. I'm down there every single weekend, hanging stands, cutting plots, putting up blinds, and, you know, just nonstop. as of right now, we're running about 300 trail cameras. We're just, like I said, we're just having fun with it.
That's sweet, man. Now, if anybody is interested in booking a hunt or, looking at your stuff, where can you, guide them to go and to go through the steps to do that?
So as of right now, until we drop the page, just go to Cameran_DIY Hunter on Instagram and shoot me a message. Like I said, we're going to drop our outfitting business page in about 2-3 weeks from now. We're getting everything. Like, I had to go get my actual guide license and all this stuff. So we're going through that whole process now, on top of trying to get all the land ready and, building fences. And it's just nonstop work. But yeah, you can reach out to me on any type of social media. And we'll definitely get you set up. We're offering velvet hunts. Good thing about Kentucky, rifle season is right in the middle of freaking rut. So, that definitely works out.
Awesome, man.
And, but yeah, it's just, like I said, we're not in it for the money. We actually run deals for people. If it's a father-son combo, we're actually running deals for that. We're putting on hunts for use for there's going to be 2 veterans and 2 youth hunters that come in this year that are 100% free. Basically, man, like I said, it's just I can't say it's a hobby because it's more than a hobby to us because we're passionate about it. But it's just something that I want to be known as one of the best around as far as putting people on deer now. I'm kind of at that point, and that's the complete goal.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and doing this and talking about, Papa and your seasons and talking about the, the new venture for the outfitting business. And you said you filmed the Papa hunt. Where can people see that if they want to go check it out?
Yeah, so the whole thing's filmed. I tell the whole story. It's like an 18, 20-minute long video. So look up DIY Hunter on YouTube and Amazon Prime.
Awesome.
It tells the whole story, and you get a real visual of Rocky, Zeus, all these deer that I mentioned. They're all part of the story and part of the video. So it's really cool, man.
That's awesome. Well, cool. I say we wrap this thing up, and again, I appreciate you coming on and doing this, man, and yeah, best of luck to you coming up for this next season.
Yep. Thank you, man.
Man, I just can't believe that. Those stories get me every time, and it's just like me going to the bar or having a get together with some buddies, and you're just kind of talking about stories. Like, this is why I do this podcast, to talk to guys and gals that are like-minded, that just love whitetail hunting and in hunting in general, just getting out there and doing something. So Cameran is 8 up in whitetails, and that's really cool to see his passion. And I think you could feel it come out in this podcast, talking about Poppas Pride and really the journey behind this deer. So that was really cool, and I appreciate Cameran coming on and doing this, and he's starting that new venture with his outfitting business, and once he gets that up and going, I'm gonna promote it a little bit. I told him I'd promote it and help him out a little bit there. So if you guys are interested, go in and DM him on Instagram and ask him anything about it, because he's an open book. He'll tell you whatever you need to know. So a couple of reminders. If you guys could go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating on the podcast. All you gotta do is, literally, if you listen to this on your phone, go to your iTunes podcast app, and go to the Fall Podcast, scroll down, and you're gonna see 5 stars. Just hit that 5-star. Just hit it if you would. I really appreciate it if you would. And then just leave a little review right underneath that. You can leave a comment, literally good, bad, and different. I don't care. Just leave something. Give me some feedback. If there's anything that you guys want to hear on the podcast, go to my Instagram page, the Fall Podcast, and DM me there. Say, hey, this guy I think is good, or this gal is good that you should have on, or I want to hear more gear reviews, or I want to hear more about filming. I just need you guys to go do that, because it's hard for me to know what you guys want to listen to, and I just want to keep growing and keep giving you guys information that is relevant and that you guys enjoy. So I don't know, I guess that's all I got to say. I'm rambling way too much. I need to take a drink of water, getting dry mouth, so I'm gonna stop recording here, and I really hope you guys have a great rest of your work week, and get out there. If your turkey season's still going, get out there, get a gobbler, share the pictures on the podcast Facebook or Instagram page, and I will share them as well. So thanks for listening, guys, and I will see you next week.
I am natural.